You got what you were after, so pay up.
You're crying in the rain, Pally.
Guess who's waking up over here?
Time to cash out.
Will you get it over with?
Maybe cons kill people without looking them in the face. But I ain't a fink. Dig? You've made your last delivery, kid. Sorry you got twisted up in this scene. From where you're kneeling must seem like an 18-carat run of bad luck. Truth is, the game was rigged from the start.
Yep. You got that right. You know what we're talking about today, and you know I said it, and I'm not taking it back. Fallout New Vegas is honestly something special, and I dare say that it's perfect. Almost. Yes, I think that the game has enough flaws to hold it back from that 10 out of 10 rating, so I'm sorry I clickbaited you in a little bit, but to be honest, I think that it honestly is close enough that I bet the majority of you don't even care. If you've seen my previous video about Red Dead Redemption 2 being an absolute 10 out of 10 masterpiece, I mentioned in that video so far, there are very few games that hit that 10 out of 10 rating, even that 9 out of 10 rating. And honestly, New Vegas just misses the mark, being an easy 9.5 in my opinion. And yes, I am willing to draw that line that thin. The story of the game was unlike any other in the series, yet resembled the stories of the older games, and the world that Obsidian gave us is easily the best of the Fallout games, except maybe Fallout 2. But I really want to get into one of my favorite games and my favorite Fallout game, so you know what, let's just step right into the Mojave Wasteland and hit the strip. So, if you've seen my previous Fallout 4 video, you would probably know that I said in it that New Vegas was my favorite Fallout game, as I would assume it is for most people who absolutely love it. But really, I don't want to compare New Vegas to any of the other games in the series, nor do I want to talk about why it might be better than certain games. But if you just want to skip to the actual reasons I believe New Vegas was almost perfect, I will throw the timestamp up where I start the facts. But first, I really want to talk about what I will be getting into with this video and what the video will be about, along with a few things I just want to point out before I get to everything. Now, I will say that New Vegas is obviously my favorite Fallout game if you've not been able to tell yet, and I just want to say that, yes, New Vegas was the first Fallout game that I have ever played. But I want to say now and lay it out straight that I will try to keep this video as non-biased as I possibly can. I know I said I will try not to compare it to any games in particular, but I will say I've played a lot of games in my 20-something years of living, and I will slightly compare it to games in a general sense, and the places I personally feel like New Vegas itself did right, and even a few things that I felt like it could have done better, resulting in that almost perfect. But as I said, the reasons I love New Vegas are not just biased reasons, in the sense of it was my first game I ever played, so I must love it because of that, or I put the most time into it, so that must be why it's my favorite. Because it isn't even my most played Fallout. See, I've played Fallout 3 for just shy of the same amount, and I have hundreds of hours on Fallout 4, actually making that my most played. There was just something about New Vegas though that always stuck with me more than any other Fallout game, whether it be the story or the world that the developers gave us. It really doesn't matter. I am droning on here though, and I just want to get right to it, so let's hop into it. Before that though, really quick, let me just say, if you enjoyed this video, definitely be sure to hit it with a like, and if you like me, totally subscribe for more. And let me know what you think about this video in the comments down below. And if you enjoy it, share it around to get the channel pumping. Back to it though. New Vegas. Ugh, I think New Vegas is so freaking good, and I think it's what I would like to call a waste-free wasteland. What I mean by that is obviously not actual waste, garbage, trash, rubbish. I mean that there was no wasted space and not a bit of wasted opportunity in New Vegas. Obsidian really understood the task of a wasteland with no rules, no government, an economic collapse, murder around every turn, mutant beings, and Las Vegas. How did they handle it, you may ask? Well, just amazingly. From cities and towns and even communities and villages that are plotted all over the Mojave. And these aren't all just settler camps where there's nothing more than a shop and a repair bench with maybe one unique character. No, these towns are all unique in their own way, most having their own small missions and side lore to explore, along with factions that you can help and even join. Now, I will get to explaining the factions in full in a second, but every town has someone new to talk to, most having names and most having a story to tell you. I mean, the first place you wake up is Good Springs, a small factionless town that you wake up in after getting blasted by Benny. Now, I know I said that there are factions in most towns, but Good Springs doesn't have one. Well, the whole start of the game is waking up in this small town that only has a few unnamed characters. The rest are all named and all memorable. You meet Doc Mitchell, who patches you up after Victor saves your life. And right away, the town is on the verge of Powder Gangers taking over, bringing in the Powder Gang faction to Good Springs. Now you actually band together with the town and take down the Powder Gangers. Or you can kind of side with the Powder Gangers and take over Good Springs for themselves. Don't be that guy though. Leave Good Springs be. But then you have a huge battle and you fend them off, making enemies out of the Powder Gangers. This already shows that the start of New Vegas is absolutely awesome. Not being like the usual, go talk to 10 people, go here and talk to 5, take out only 1 or 2 enemies that mean nothing, then you're back on your journey with another 30 minutes before you get into your first big fight. No, here you wake up, learn how to use a rifle, kick someone out of a bar, stockpile arms and people to fight with, then you go to battle with a whole faction. Like, that is a scene straight out of a movie, and that is just the first 15 or 20 minutes, and the first city. Then you get to go to Prim and Novak, on until you finally get to the Strip. Then on top of this, there's places like Jacobstown, a completely inhabited by friendly and intelligent super mutants in Nightkin town. Or Nipton, a town based off The Lottery, an old short story following the same concept. There are so many places to go and so many things to do. Another thing that they did that totally made the Wasteland feel so much better, and after seeing it, not having it would have been a big missed opportunity, and that would be Wacky Wasteland. I know that this is a big jump from cities to Wacky Wasteland, but let me delve in further. Sure, walking from city to city, you might find people, some small camps, enemies to fight, and buildings to loot, keeping the adventure exciting. But with Wacky Wasteland brings another element to every single nook and cranny to the Wasteland. Find yourself Johnny Aces right outside of Good Springs. Or you can come across what seems to be Indiana Jones in a different timeline where that fridge did not end up doing the job. You can even find the scorched bodies of Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru. Whenever you hear that Cowboys vs. Aliens sounding tune, you know to look for the abnormal, and it adds a certain, well, wackiness to the game. Now, along with this, as I said, there is no shortage of people to talk to on your travels. From first meeting Boone to soon kicking it with Yes Man, the list of memorable characters scattered across the Mojave is so long, and they all have a story or something for you to do with them. Another good way that they seem to fill up the Wasteland is all of the past lore left on walls and billboards, and even the billboards themselves. You can find scribbles that range from obscenities to make you laugh to eerie messages left over the dark past. And as I said, the billboards themselves add a lot to the Wasteland. Seeing the advertisements for places like Silver Rush or the Tops Casino, and what makes it feel so much better is the fact you can still visit the majority of those places and take part in whatever goods they have to offer. It really all just helps the world feel alive, still in the middle of an empty and dead wasteland. I mean, there's a freaking mail service in the Mojave that you can go to and pay to ship stuff. Like, that makes things feel like the people who are left are truly trying to rebuild the world. There are cities, businesses, along with business deals, certain factions with certain rule sets. There's militaries. I mean, at least in the Mojave, the people of the nuclear wasteland are straight up thriving. And then there are all the side secret things that aren't so in your face, like trying to search out and find all the Sunset Star Caps, or just trying to get yourself a Pimp Boy 3 Billy. And that is just a couple. Another big thing that Obsidian just killed with in Fallout New Vegas was the whole system of currency. You have your caps, kind of acting like your pennies, where mostly anything can be bought with caps. Then there's a whole other type of currency called the NCR dollar, which is based off of the new California Republic, a military force that is helping to restore the Western Wasteland. With the NCR dollars, you can also buy anything with them being worth more money in some areas and less in others. Then there is also the money used by Caesar's Legion, which resembles something from Rome, and all of these can be used at the casinos in the game to trade in for chips, along with the last currency that is common, which is the pre-war dollar. And that's the money of the old war, which has definitely depreciated in value, but is still worth something. And at most places, if you're trying to cop something new, you can probably just pawn off all your old junk to get closer to it. And the last thing that I felt helped make the game feel alive, and another thing I feel like would have been a missed opportunity by Obsidian, was the hardcore mode. I don't usually play with it on, but every once in a while I like the harder challenge, along with needing to eat, drink, and sleep. Though everyone knows about hardcore mode, so I'll probably just leave that point where it is. For now, I actually want to move on and talk about the amazing factions that seem to span across the Mojave Desert. So, on to the next thing that I think makes Fallout New Vegas my favorite Fallout game, and that would have to be the factions that plague the Wasteland. First, I will just dive right into the NCR and Caesar's Legion. Dig? Now, those two might be the biggest, but let me tell you that they are definitely not the only ones, and not even one of them are the most dangerous. But let's get into how many factions are actually in the game. So as I said, the two biggest are NCR and Caesar's Legion. So the NCR, or the New California Republic, is a full-on military and almost government force, obviously started in California, and their mission is to bring order to the Wasteland. They have a big part in keeping the lesser wanted factions and creatures of the Wasteland at bay, and their main mission of the Mojave is to take over the Hoover Dam in hopes of powering all of their operations. Now, on the opposite side, the NCR are fighting against the other biggest faction of the Wasteland, which is Caesar's Legion. See, they're a pack of blood-ravaged Romans, pretty much, following Caesar, who I think forgot how to pronounce Caesar, but I'll let them deal with their own dressings. Now, they will murder anyone in their way on the path of taking over the Mojave, also tasking themselves with taking over the dam, causing the last mission of the game where you have to help one of them actually take it. Well, I will get to that in a second actually. But aside from the two bigger factions, I stated before another faction, albeit a little bit of a smaller one, and that was the Powder Gangers. They're like a Western chain gang wearing what looks to be prison uniforms, and they're generally just trying to steal some stuff and rob some townsfolk. Then there is the Great Khans, a group of your pretty average raiders hanging out in the mountains of the Wasteland the majority of the time. Honestly, they're sort of neutral, not being the pack they once were. They went through a bunch of massacres and certain issues within the faction, causing it to be a lot smaller and only but a shadow of what it once was. Due to this, they kind of keep to themselves and stick in the mountains of the Mojave doing drug dealing and trafficking. On to the next faction, and probably the most dangerous of the Mojave, and that would have to be the Boomers. Now, if you know the Boomers, you will probably wonder why I say they're the most dangerous, as they are actually neutral, but they reside on an Air Force base, not bothering anyone, but also not letting anyone bother them. And the Boomers harness the power of the pre-war US Air Force, having weapons and tech that make them extremely dangerous if they ever did choose to attack. Almost to the last faction, we have the Brotherhood of Steel, which are a little weird in this Fallout entry, but Once you meet them and learn their true motives, then you will learn that they are the good old Brotherhood of Steel everyone loves and fears. Now, what I would call the last faction in the game would not really be a faction per se. First, I will say that I know that there are groups one could call factions, such as the group of ghouls trying to make it to space, or the super mutants over at Jacobstown, but I feel as though they are not factions. More communities of people. You can't join them as you would other factions, and along with that, they don't really have such an impact on the world as the others would. Though, that being said, they aren't communities to skip, and I always stop by to do the missions and tasks that they need you to do. Now, to the last faction of the Wasteland, I would say it is the Strip in general. Now, there are like mafias and families within New Vegas, be it the White Gloves or the people running Gomorrah or the Silver Rush, and even all of the robots working for House. I mean, they're all mini groups that I would even consider factions, and some of them are factions, but with all that being said, it's all taking place within New Vegas, and it all seems to affect the city of New Vegas in the long run, so I would kind of just consider New Vegas in a whole being a faction. But honestly, that was enough of me mindlessly describing all the factions. I want to move on to my last topic of the video. And I will just say that the point of me explaining all the factions was more or less to explain why I like all the factions, because the factions in a whole is another reason I think New Vegas was so good. I think Obsidian did the factions really well. Some people say that they weren't fleshed out enough or they weren't good enough, and sure, that might be true, but I think for the time they had, they did really well. And I will get to all of that kind of at the end of the video, because it is also a slight gripe that I do have with the game. But all of that will come full circle, just wait. So on to my last actual point of why I think New Vegas is such a strong game. I'm going to be calling that movie like Mojave. And what I mean by that is the story and things that happen in this game sometimes feel like I'm watching a movie. Starting off right at the beginning of the game, which I already talked about earlier, but the beginning mission of the game, even the beginning intro, feels like movie writing. That line that Benny gives you, the game was rigged from the start. Oof, that gets me every single time. And then the convicts taking over a whole town, murdering the sheriff, his wife, or a crazy hotel manager that sold someone to slavery and acts like a perfectly innocent old lady. What about House? A man who has been hooked up to a machine, keeping him alive to run a whole casino-driven city in a wasteland apocalypse. I mean, the mission of finding Benny in itself is like the plot out of a film. A man shoots you in the head and leaves you to die in the desert wasteland. You get saved somehow by a robot. You then have a mission to find the man that shot you and get revenge. Then, though, you get to choose how the movie goes. Do you follow Victor's advice and go from city to city asking around for who might know something? Or do you choose to head straight for New Vegas and take your chances finding him there? Then, when you do find him, do you take him out on the spot? Or do you play his little game and let him get away to let you look a little longer? I mean, the options are endless, along with the possibilities of who you want to be as well. Some of the conversations along with events are just so well written, being one of the reasons I think that New Vegas is so freaking good and why it's one of my favorite Fallout games. Another story I love is the sequence of ghouls who think they are destined to get to the moon, having you help them get their rocket situated, even getting to see them take off. Or of course that ending battle of taking the dam. Whether you are helping NCR or the Legion, hell, even if you're going at it as a lone man trying to take it for yourself and the goal of taking over New Vegas, that final battle is awesome. And if you aren't with the Legion, I just love getting into the fight with the final boss, even if it was one of the most hard and annoying fights for me to finish as a child. Then we get to the amazing DLCs, which I find amazing and a lot of people find lackluster and bad, but like Lonesome Road and getting to visit the Sierra Madre and Dead Money, even if people absolutely hate that DLC, I still think that the writing and environment were something straight out of an old era horror movie. The whole game just feels like cinema, and I absolutely loved every single part of it. Now I know this is all a smaller point. I just don't want to go through the whole entire story. I will leave that to you all. Now, I will leave this all with, the game's story is absolutely amazing, and definitely one of the best in my opinion, even though there are plenty of people out there that would totally disagree with me. But if you have somehow not played it in the past 15 years, what are you doing? Go play that game right now. But time for the last thing I want to talk about, ending this nice and lengthy video off with negativity and why I think it's almost perfect. So yes, this is the last point and the last part of the video. You got that right. It's time to talk about the things that I find wrong with New Vegas, as honestly, there was enough to bring it just before that perfect line. I won't go into all the things wrong with the game, but the bigger things that I have, and I bet a lot of players found with the game itself. First off, I'm gonna get the big meme out of the way. Yes, this is still a partial Bethesda game, and yes, New Vegas does have its fair share of bugs. Har har har, get your laughs out now. The game has bugs, just like any other Bethesda game, and just like Starfield will probably have. By the way, tune in next Friday if you want to finally hear my thoughts on Starfield and see whether I was right or wrong with the things I said in my past Starfield video. Back to New Vegas though. So the thing I will bring up first is honestly the companions. Yes, I think the companions in this game, along with the companion system in general, is just not that good. I mean, some of the companions are cool characters and have cool stories, but there are none that really have a reason to actually have them join you on your quest. Boone is the cause of an awesome little side story, but once he's on your team, he's just kind of like any other lifeless companion that you have joined with totally different stories. Honestly, the only companion I ever use is Rex. I mean, come on, Cyberdog? Is there really any other option? Of all the companions, the only other one that I sometimes choose for just the reason of switching it up is the iRobot that you can find and repair. And on to the next issue that can be found in this game, and yes, a whole lot of other games from back in the day, and even today, and that is a simple thing called bullet sponges. Yes, sometimes I don't like unloading 5 magazines into one person to take them out. Then on the other side, a person with what seems to be more armor takes one 9mm bullet to blow them completely up. Like, why do some people have to act like they're made of metal and the bullets are reflecting off of them? I get trying to add difficulty, but honestly, there's always a better way to make things harder than iron skin. That's enough of that one though. On to the next issue. And honestly, that's the story's length and what happens when you finish it. See, I can probably finish the main story of New Vegas in 2 hours, maybe even an hour and a half. But I'm no speedrunner, so don't come at me in the comments saying people can beat it in 10 minutes or something, okay? I'm not that. But if you don't stop and enjoy the world, then you find yourself at the dam battle without knowing what hit you. And when you finish that battle and take down the Legion, boom, the game ends. That's it. You can't keep going unless you want to go to the save right before that dam battle. Honestly, this kinda sucks. It would have been awesome to see what happens after the battle. Why can't you go back and be king of New Vegas pretty much? Why can't you see what happens to either the NCR or the Legion? Honestly, I just feel like I, and a lot of other people think that the story ending there and not letting you continue playing was just a big mistake on Obsidian's part. And that is one of the biggest issues. But on to the last thing and the biggest issue, and that is that we didn't even get a finished New Vegas. Yeah, that's right, the game had its development cut short, starting its development and releasing all in the 2 years after Fallout 3, causing so many things to either be cut or just dumbed down in the game. To start, some of the concept art showed huge cities. Along with that, the people who pitched the game wanted the option to choose between playing as ghouls and super mutants on top of humans. One cool story arc that was cut was the Brotherhood of Steel taking over Helios 1 to take control of the 2 weapons contained inside. People found cut audio files as well that had someone saying that the Brotherhood took back control due to the NCR mishandling Helios 1, and the Brotherhood were quick and happy to take it back because of that. And the last thing that was a shame to have been cut was the whole beginning would have been completely different actually getting to create your character and get acquainted with yourself before even meeting Benny and his gang, and actually getting to go through that whole cutscene where he blasts you in-game. This would have brought more reaction to what would have happened, and then you would have had more drive to get revenge. Then you would get to see yourself being dragged to Doc Mitchell by Victor. I mean, it would have just been a way better start. Though with that, I will say, I am so glad that we did not get the Benny monologue we were supposed to get. See, what Benny says in his monologue is one of my favorite lines in gaming history. And what he was actually supposed to say was, "Shame you had to get caught in the middle of all this. Bet you don't even know why you're here. But hey, if it makes you feel better, it's nothing personal, just bad luck." Which sounds so much worse than what we actually got. I mean, it even makes sense that Benny says the game was rigged from the start, because you can find out that House put multiple people out on the job for the chip. So Benny was probably one of them, ended up learning what the chip was, wanted it for himself, and hunted you down. Nonetheless, the monologue that Benny gives is just perfect too, showing he's not the big bad man he seems to be, which is also shown throughout the whole game with him running and hiding constantly, though I'll leave that there. I'm glad we got the monologue we got, but I think if we would have gotten all the other cut content that the developers intended in putting in the game, then it maybe, just maybe, could have reached that perfect mark. Though, there is an unofficial patch kind of mod to get a lot of the things they did want for the game back, making it more like what it should have been and what the developers wanted it to be. But honestly, there's a couple more reasons I don't think it reaches that perfect mark, but as I'm scripting this, I can tell this video is getting just a little longer than I usually like, so I think I'm gonna end things off right here. And yeah, that's right, I'm ending it. Bye. Just kidding. But this video is longer than it needs to be, so I'm gonna give you all my final thoughts and wrap things up here. Now, I know I will probably get people coming at me for the title alone, calling me a fanboy, or that anything I have to say is biased like some of the other fans out there, but no, I honestly just love this game so much, from the types of guns to, as I said, that amazing beginning Benny monologue. There are just so many things that make this game absolutely amazing to me. Though, as I said, there are definitely enough things that hurt the game and hold it back from hitting that perfect mark. Though, there are so many things that will always keep me playing and will always keep it in the top 10 games for me, forever. I do also want to note the fact that this game is 100% perfectly playable on the Steam Deck. I have not experienced a single crash. It always runs at a buttery smooth 60 frames. The battery holds really well on the Steam Deck while playing it, and I've done a whole playthrough without mods, enjoying myself the whole way through, already starting another for whenever I'm away from home for a while and want to game out before bed. But as I said, this is all droning on long enough. And don't come at me in the comments saying this is not that long, because it's not 8 hours, okay? It's long for me. But yeah, if you enjoyed this video and want to let me know what you thought, throw that in the comments now. And if you just want to let me know something or give me another game suggestion, drop that there as well. And if you like this video, as I said before, definitely share this video around to get the community booming even bigger than it already is. And if you like this video, or just liked me, be sure to like this video and subscribe to stay up to date on all of the new videos coming out. And go ahead and check out all the other videos over on my channel now. And if you loved this video more than most and want to support more videos like this, then definitely go ahead and check out a membership to either my channel or my Patreon for a list of different things, both including your profile name at the end of every single video, right here, just no names. So if you want to check those out, links will be on screen in the description and as always in my channel links now. And as always, I just want to say thank you all so much to everyone who helped me make it here, and thank you to everyone who has supported the channel and videos by liking, commenting, and even subscribing. So as always, thank you all so much, and remember, always help Snuffle's leg, and don't hurt him, and always have the best day ever.
God, this community is overreacting.